Hi, Luke here again for the second video covering the tasks with the associated lectures. So we're looking at tasks 2.1 to 2.4 today. So let's look at 2.1 to start with. Start a new Python file, store your name in a variable called name, and store your age in a variable called age. Get Python to print the following. My name is name and my age is age. In 2 years I will be age plus 2. Where the angular brackets represent the variables. So let's go to our Python shell, file, new file. Okay, we need a variable for my name, so we're going to call that name equals, my name is Luke. Luke, here I'm storing as a string, a sequence of characters, and then age, I am 25 years old, and I'm going to store that as an integer. Okay, and then I need to print out what did I need to print out? My name is name. Into the code. My name is comma, and then I'm going to use the variable name. It's the value stored in the variable name. And I am, and then I'm going to use the value stored in the variable age. Let's see what it says. And my age is whatever. That's fine. Full stop. In 2 years, I will be, okay, and then I'm going to have age, so the value stored in the variable age, plus 2, comma, years old. Close quotation marks, close parentheses. Okay, so every time I've opened a parenthesis, I've got an open parenthesis at the start and a closed parenthesis at the end, and then every time I've opened a quotation mark, I've closed it. Same here and here, here and here, and then finally here and here. And then every time I've used a variable, I've had to separate them by comma. So close the string, comma, variable name, comma, comma, variable name, which is age, comma, and then finally comma, age plus 2. So I should be able to save this. So I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to call this task 2.1. And then I'm going to go run module, and hopefully this should print out, my name is Luke, and I am 25. In 2 years, I will be 27 years old. And then maybe I'd want to go back into my program and just sort out the spacing, because the spacing is a little bit weird. And I could do that by, removing spaces here and so on. Okay. Right. So then we look at task 2.2. Imagine you are writing a piece of software for a shop. You need to calculate prices of items with VAT added. VAT is normally charged at 20%. For this program, we're going to ignore how the UK's complex VAT rules work and charge all items at 20%. We're being asked to write a program that allows the user to input the price of an item without VAT. Then the program will display the amount of VAT that should be added to the item. And finally, it will display the price of the item with the VAT added. An example run of the program might be, please enter the price of the item without VAT, and then the user's entered 36.94. The program then tells us that the amount of VAT we owe is 7.39, and the total price is 7.39 plus 36.94, which equals 44.3279, and then a bunch of 9s, and then finally ending in a 6. For now, we are not going to worry too much about printing too many decimal places, because we cover that in a later session. It is common to write your program in 3 parts: input, processing, and output. So the first part we're going to write is the input part. This is where you should get the user's input. For this task, you should prompt the user for the price of the item and store the result in a variable. Okay, cool. Part 2 is the processing part. This is where we're going to perform all our calculations. For this task, we're going to need to calculate the VAT amount and the new price, which includes the VAT, and then we're going to store both values in new variables. And then finally, we've got the output part, part 3, and this is where we're going to print the output of the program. For this task, you should print the VAT amount on one line, followed by a new calculated price, which includes the VAT. Some more tips. At the bottom of the page, then, it's best to group all of the processing together and all of the output together, as opposed to mixing the processing and output statements. To do this task, you will need to use the input command to input a string. We have not yet covered how to do this, but it's quite easy to do. the following code reads a floating point number into a variable. So if we look on the right-hand side, my var equals float input, please enter a floating point number. This code will print to the screen the text, please enter a floating point number. Notice the nice colon and the space at the end of the text. The program will then wait for the user to type a number, possibly with a decimal point, and press enter. The program will then store the value in the variable myVar. You can use this code to prompt the user for the item's price without VAT. The program will then read the price from the user and store it in a variable. You should avoid using magic numbers in your program so that the VAT rate should be a constant at the top of the program. Okay, so we need to also use constants. So let's go into our shell. Let's open up a new file. So file, new file. I think it might be Control N on Windows machines. On Mac, it's Command N for a new file. So we're going to have our tax rate. Okay, it's a constant, so we're going to do it in all caps. And the tax rate is 20%. I'm going to represent this as 0.2. Okay, 0.2 being 20%. Okay, so then we have to ask the user for an input. So we've got this nice line here, myVar equals float input, please enter a floating point number. I'm going to have mine as price of item using camel case equals float input. And then I'm going to steal this nice little string here, please enter the price of the item without VAT. Copy and paste that in here, put a space. Okay. So this is my, I've got a constant here for the what my VAT tax rate is. The price of the item is going to be entered in by the user. Okay, so this is my input section. Then the next section I need to worry about is my processing. So I need to work out total VAT amount. Okay, again using camel case, and that's going to be equal to the price of the item multiplied by my tax rate. Okay, so multiplied by 0.2 is going to be 20% of the price of the item, and then I need to work out price of item with VAT. That's going to be the original price of the item plus my new total VAT amount. Okay, and then I'm going to do some outputs. So I'm going to print out to the user. I'm going to print out how much the VAT is. So I'm going to steal their VAT section. So VAT colon. And then how much VAT are they paying? Well, they're paying total amount. Total VAT amount. And then we're going to print out the total price of the item, including the VAT. So what do they say? They say item price including VAT, and we're going to have price of item with VAT as our final output. Okay, so I'm going to go File, Save, and then we're going to run this program. I need to give it a name. Task 2.2. Okay, and then we're going to run this program. So run the module. Hopefully there aren't any errors. Please enter the price of the item without VAT. So let's do the example in the notes. So 36.94. 36.94. And we're expecting it to tell us that our VAT is 7.39 and our total price is 44.327. Okay, so let's give that a go. VAT is 7.388. That's pretty close to 39. And then item price 44.3279. And that seems the same here. Okay. Then let's look at task 2.3. Write a program that calculates the length of the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle, where A, B, and H are the lengths of the respective sides. H can be calculated as follows. So H is the square root of A squared plus B squared. An example run of the program might be enter the length of side A is 4.3, enter the length of side B is 2.3. The length of the hypotenuse is 4.88. To do this, you will need to import the square root function from the math library. split your code into 3 sections again. So input, processing, and output. Okay, so file, new file. Okay, so first of all, we want to get them to tell us how big side length A is. So side length A equals, we're going to have a float again. Float input, please enter the length of side A. Go on, nice little spacing, close both my parentheses. And then I'm going to have side length B equals float input, please enter the length of side B. Perfect. Close both the parentheses. Okay, so now I need to do some processing. And the processing I'm going to use is this maths equation here. We've got h equals the square root of a squared plus b squared. Okay, so hypotenuse, I hope that's how you spell it. Looks pretty good. Hypotenuse equals, right, so we're creating a variable called hypotenuse and we're assigning it the value. We need the square root of side length of A. Okay, remember double star is exponentiation, so double star 2 is to the power of 2, plus side length B, double star is going to raise that to the power of 2. Okay. And then I need to square root this whole thing. And like it said, I need to import the square root function from the math library. So I'm going to import math. I'm going to say math.sqrt. Sqrt, there we go. So this should do the square root of the side length of A squared plus the side length of B squared. Okay. And then the final part of my program is the output. So I'm going to print out the length of the hypotenuse is, okay, and I have hypotenuse as my variable. Hypotenuse. Okay, so let's file, save that as task 3, task 2.3, task 2.3. Save that, and let's run it with the example that we've been given in the notes. So 4.3 is our side length for A, 4.3. Side length for B is 2.3, 2.3, and we're expecting to get a side length of 4.88. And we've got 4.876, which would be rounded to 4.88. Perfect. Okay, so that's part 3 done, and then we get to challenge task 2.4. Write a program that prompts the user to enter a temperature in degrees, and then converts this to Fahrenheit. Okay, and then we've been given a little maths equation to calculate it. So again, we're going to go for the input, processing, and then output. So we get the user to enter a temperature in degrees Celsius. So file, new file, temperature equals float input, please enter a temperature in degrees Celsius, because we're British and not American. And then we're going to do our processing. So, maybe we should have a better variant name here, because we're going to have temperatures in both degrees Celsius, and we're going to have temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. So let's call this temperature in Celsius. There we go. So now when I have my new variable, temperature in Fahrenheit, it makes a bit more sense. And I'm pretty sure that's how you spell Fahrenheit. It is. Perfect. There's a H in there somewhere. Fahrenheit. Something like that. Okay. So our temperature in Fahrenheit, we need to look at this equation, is our temperature in degrees Celsius times 9/5 plus 32. Okay, so we're going to have open bracket, temperature in Celsius multiplied by 9/5. And then what do we do with that? We add 32 plus 32. Okay, and then we're going to print out the temperature in Fahrenheit is and then comma, temperature in Fahrenheit. Okay, so assuming I haven't made any spelling mistakes, but I might have, we can file save this as task 2.4, and then we can try and run it. Okay, so let's say the temperature is 30 degrees Celsius. It tells us that's 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, and it's worth going and checking that is correct, maybe using something like Google. What's quite interesting is I'm pretty sure there's a temperature, I think it's around 40 degrees, minus 40 degrees, that they actually equal the same temperature. There we go. So minus 40 degrees in Celsius is actually minus 40 degrees in Fahrenheit, which is nice and interesting. Okay, so those are the challenges for session 2. I hope this video has been useful. As ever, if you have any questions, feel free to email Technocamps, or pause the video and go back and replay stuff. And also, if you need to, go back and look at the lecture notes. I will see you in the next video where we'll be looking at either lecture 3 or the tasks for lecture 3.